know. Tofu or tempeh? That is the question that I get quite a bit in my private practice as a registered dietitian who happens to be vegan as well, and so I help a lot of people transition to a plant-based diet, and wondering which protein source, plant-based protein source, is best is definitely a question that comes up a lot. And so if you're tuning in, that's probably why you're here. So let's jump on in. So first of all, tofu is essentially soybeans, which is tempeh as well. The only difference is that the tempeh is going to be fermented soybeans, and sometimes there's other products or other grains in the product as well. So for example, this one from Trader Joe's has the soybeans, the brown rice, barley, and millet. And so it has kind of a different sort of grainier texture, if you will. And so just know, and if you look at it, you can actually kind of see the soybean versus the grain. So that's the big difference, is that the tempeh is going to be fermented, which then means that because it's fermented, it's going to have beneficial organisms to help support your gut microbiome. When it comes to nutrition, so again, the grams are going to be a little bit different on the label, so just keep that in mind. But this is super high protein tofu, and it's super firm, and that's how it gets the high protein. So it's super firm, super pressed. So this is definitely going to have more protein than most tofu. So this one in one serving, which is 91 grams or a fifth of the piece, you'll find 15 grams of protein. And something that's just a traditional sort of firm tofu, you're going to find more like, it depends on how firm it is, but anywhere from 6 to 8 grams for most kinds of tofu. And so I really like the super firm one, if you can find it. It does have a chewier texture, so there's that. But again, it's just going to have 15 grams of protein per serving versus the tempeh, which the serving size is half a block, which is kind of a lot. Like half a block is, like my fingers, basically. And that's going to have 20 grams of protein. So from a protein perspective, they're honestly kind of similar, because you're going to get 5 servings out of this guy, 2 out of this. From a cost perspective, it can range considerably. So Trader Joe's, this is not an advertisement for Trader Joe's, but I tend to find the most economical choice of tempeh is at Trader Joe's. It's $1.99 for a package, so I stock up on like several when I'm there. This one's going to be about $3 because, again, it is like the higher protein. In a grocery store, you would find a package of tofu for the same thing, about $3. It just has a little less protein, but still a fantastic choice. The one at Trader Joe's is less than that, like $1.69 to $2, depending on the type. So the price on tofu can vary, and I should say tempeh in the grocery stores is usually like $3.69. So it is quite a bit cheaper at Trader Joe's, which is why I get it there. But from a protein perspective, they're very similar. They're both going to provide a lot of different amino acids. And when it comes to nutrients, so vitamins and minerals, the tempeh is going to have 15% of your iron and 8% of your calcium. And because tofu is also made from soybeans, it's also going to be a great source of iron and calcium. And in that same one serving, we have 4% of your calcium and 15% of your iron. So a little less calcium and about the same amount of iron. So my guess is that part of the calcium is coming from other grains. So just to keep that in mind, that nutritionally they're going to be about the same. Cost-wise, they're going to vary significantly. But really, when it comes to tofu versus tempeh, it comes down to what are you going to use it for. Because just like chicken or fish, they have different purposes, and that purpose then determines which one's going to better fit your needs. So tempeh works really well if you're grilling because it's really firm. So you can see that this is a super firm texture. It's not going to move at all. And it works well if you're doing any kind of skewer, or again, you can just put like a slab of it after it's been marinated and seasoned on the grill. I also really like using tempeh chunks in like a stir fry or like a curry. Uno momento. So in a curry, like in a thick, hearty sauce, this is again going to hold together really well. Tempeh is also great if you're eating with meat eaters and you want something that's just kind of like, if they're grilling chicken, you can just grill the tempeh. if they're baking the chicken, you can just bake the tempeh. So it's a very comparable kind of like piece of protein, if you will, without having to go to like a meat analog. So that's when I definitely use it more as well. I also really like to do tempeh bacon, which I'll put the video for below. And the tempeh bacon, there's lots of different variations out there, but I like to have it then with sandwiches, on sandwiches, you know, for breakfast, all of the things, just to kind of boost that plant-based protein intake. And then tofu is going to be best used for, well, depends on the type of tofu. So if you're going to have a silken tofu that you would blend up, it comes in a box and it's shelf stable. That's really great for adding into smoothies to increase the protein content. You can also use it in a lot of dips, you'll find. Something like the firm or the extra firm would be best for like a crumble. So you could do, like, instead of scrambled eggs, it's scrambled tofu with seasonings and turmeric and vegetables. It's also great for baking tofu. So that's probably one of my absolute favorite ways to make tofu is to bake it, and you can catch the link for that below. And you know, really, tofu can be crumbled, it can be cubed, it can be in triangles. So it's really versatile, and because it's like a sponge, as long as you press it really, really well, it'll soak up whatever seasonings and whatever flavorings you're adding. So that's really helpful to think about, because if you just like put straight tofu in the oven, it's not going to taste like much because you didn't add anything. It's a sponge and needs to soak up a flavor in order for that flavor to come through, which is great because then it does cross multiple flavor profiles. So those are the main differences between tofu and tempeh. I hope that you found it helpful, and I'm curious, which is your favorite, tofu or tempeh? Let's try to settle the debate or get things stirring. Until next time, keep it kind, subscribe for a new video every week, and I will see you soon.